Hi, I'm going to be sharing with you smart saving tips for your wedding, especially if you're trying to have a dream wedding on a budget. Now, these tips I'm going to be sharing with you are not just from what I read or saw somewhere, they are from my personal experience, and I certainly had a good wedding. I was able to save over 500,000 naira with these tips, and I had a decent wedding. There was one of these points that actually even helped me save that 500,000 naira. Definitely keep watching if you would like to know, okay? So let's get right into it. So the first thing you need to do is to have a total budget for your wedding. Yes, have a total budget for your wedding, not just based on your wedding day. You need to factor in a lot of other things. Example, after the wedding, do we have a place to stay? I mean, if you're going to have to pay rent, if you're going to have to go on honeymoon, you're going to go on vacation, you want to travel, if you have a business idea that both of you want to start, and I suggest planning this with your partner. Ask your partner, how much do you have and how much are you willing to spend on this wedding? I mean, who is funding the wedding? Is it both of you? Is it one person primarily? But you need to find out. Don't just start doing a survey for a wedding without having a budget. If not, you're going to overspend, and then you might end up just being bankrupt or even going on a debt. So you need to sit down. Even the Bible says, who amongst you want to start a building without sitting down and counting the cost? So you need to sit down and actually ask yourself, how much am I willing to spend? What is it going to cost me? Is it going to cost me something that I know that, okay, fine, we can let go of this? Or is it going to cost you something more than just the wedding day? Remember, the wedding is just in a day. The marriage is actually the focus, and the marriage should be your priority, all right? It's good to have a good wedding, but not at the expense of your marriage. Not people coming to knock on your door and telling you that you're owing. Not you trying to impress people at the end of the day that won't even care, or trying to think that you want to plan your wedding in such a way that you're going to recover the money when people spray you money. From experience, it doesn't work that way. So please plan your wedding in such a way that you're comfortable enough to let go of whatever money that you're going to let go of. Just plan your wedding according to your own budget. Just that you will look back and you are happy, not that people are impressed, but you're proud of your wedding. Okay, number 2, get a wedding checklist or have a wedding checklist, because this is going to help keep you in check. Pun intended. Anyway, I'll see if I can insert a free wedding checklist for you to help you, because that'll be like a template that will just guide you through the things that you need to have for your wedding, or you may need to have for your wedding, so that you can have an idea of what are the things I'm even going to spend on. Now, having a wedding checklist can actually help you decide your negotiables and your non-negotiables, because that's what helped me. Example, I remember during our wedding, okay, my mom was just talking about cooling van, for the drinks and all that. But for me, cooling van was a negotiable for me. The non-negotiables are those things you probably spend money on. Then after that, you can now consider the negotiables. So for me, the cooling van was a negotiable. So I told my mom that we're just going to hold on. Then I would now consider the negotiables. So you can have some things like that. So having a wedding checklist can keep you in check. Like, there's some people that will say they don't want to have a reception, and that is a negotiable for them. They just plan other things, and if there is more money for the reception, they go ahead. If not, fine. I know a lot of beautiful weddings that they don't have receptions. They just do their church wedding, or they wed in the church, or wherever their wedding, maybe destination wedding, and then that's all. Or some people might even say they're not going to have a large reception, but they just want to have an intimate dinner with friends and family. I also know someone that did that, and it worked for them. It helped them with their budget. So when you have a wedding checklist, you need to know what are those things that I can do without in my wedding. I don't mind doing without those things, and I'll still have the kind of wedding that I want to have. Number 3 tip, now that you have your wedding checklist, is to have a sub budget. Remember, number 1, we had the total budget, but now you're going to have a sub budget. What do I mean? Now that you have your wedding checklist, you allocate budget to each of those items on your wedding checklist, depending on what you want to splurge more on, or what you feel you can compromise more on, or you just feel this is the maximum amount I can spend on this particular thing. Let me give an example. For my wedding dress, I felt like it's not something I wanted to really splurge on. I think I had a budget for my wedding dress of about 350,000 naira or 400,000 naira, and I wanted to rent. I think it was 350,000 naira maximum, and I wanted to rent. So, and I had other things like that as well, that I was like, okay, I'm just going to include sub budget into this thing. And it also helped me decide what are the things I want to splurge more on, and the things that I'm not willing to splurge more on. Like, for instance, for me, I was willing to splurge on my decor because I really wanted a beautiful decor. Like, I felt like decor is just nice, is where you take pictures. I really wanted a beautiful decor, so I was willing to splurge on that. So I had a lot of things like my bouquet. I was like, I wasn't looking for pure roses, or I wasn't looking for fresh flowers. I was not going to splurge on my bouquet. And how much did I even get my bouquet? I think I got it from Abuja for like 10,000 naira or something like that. So I was not willing to splurge on all those things. But there are some people that want real roses. Fine, that's what they want to splurge on. So look out for the things that you want to splurge on, put a budget on all those things, and you know that, okay, this is what I'm willing to spend. And now what this will help you do is that it will also help you choose the kind of vendors that will suit your sub budget. And it's advisable to actually have your sub budget before you even do your market survey, or even have your vendors before you go and reach out to vendors, because the prices the vendors may tell you might now influence your budget, but it's your budget that should influence the kind of vendors that you will have for each item on your wedding list. Do you understand? So I'm going to say that again. The vendors, the price, so you need to have a sub budget before you reach out to your vendors. Why? So that the prices of the vendors will not now determine your sub budget, but it's your sub budget that will determine the kind of vendors that you reach out to and the vendors that you actually agree to. And that is what really helps me a lot. Example, I'm still going to use my wedding dress as an example. I told you that my budget for my wedding dress was about 350,000 naira. So when I did my market survey, when I reached out to vendors, I was hearing different prices. Even for rentals, that was when I saw that was 500,000 naira for renting, 400,000 naira for renting. And I knew I had a budget, so I just kept on searching. Do you know that at the end of the day, I got my wedding dress, I think for a total, everything was a total of, I don't think it was up to 300,000 naira, to be very honest. And guess what? It was even custom made. It wasn't even the rentals. And that was because I had a sub budget, and it just made me keep searching for vendors that would suit my budget. Okay, so in summary, your sub budget will actually help you determine what kind of vendors that you're going to get to suit your budget, and it also help you determine what are things you're going to splurge on and the things that you're not willing to splurge on, so that when you start going to the market, you know that you're not going for the so much expensive things concerning the ones that you're not willing to splurge on. So the next tip I'm going to be giving to you is to plan your wedding early, at least 3 to 6 months. If 1 year, fine. I think I started planning mine like 4 months to the time. Now, these are the reasons why you need to plan your wedding early. It helps you to be spoiled for choice as regards vendors. So you're going to have variety of vendors that you can reach out to, and then you now compare prices because you have time to do that. But imagine if you were planning your wedding like a month or 2 to the time, you're just probably going to settle for whatever any vendor tells you. Even if it's above your budget, then you probably now have to add some money, So, but if you start planning your wedding on time, example, when I started planning my wedding, I think 4 months to the time when I started planning my wedding, and I was going to look for an event planner, I checked for so many event planners. I think I reached out to over 10 event planners until I finally found the one that suited my budget. Now imagine if I did not have so much time, if I didn't have so much time in my hands, I probably would have settled for one that was just a bit above my budget. So you need time so that you can compare prices, so you can be spoiled for choice and then decide the one that you're going to go with according to your budget. Number 2 reason is that it will even help you beat inflation. I mean, especially if you're planning a Nigerian wedding where prices keep increasing daily. I mean, example, I remember the hairstylist that did my hair, right? So I think she also did my civil wedding hair. So I had told her, I'm good, because I knew I was going to do my white wedding sometime in the future. So I had told her that when I'm doing a white wedding, how much is it going to cost her and all that. And she gave me a particular price. When I eventually wanted to do my white wedding and I reached out to her again, now her prices had changed. She had reviewed her prices just a few months from when she had given me the previous price. But you know what? She let me. She told me that since we've already discussed this price before, she had already told me this price before, she's going to go with the old price for me, but she's not collecting this price for any other bride. Now imagine if that was the first time I had asked her about her pricing, or that I just started planning my wedding as at that time when she had reviewed. So a lot of things are changing, and I'm sure the price she even charged for that period when I was doing my wedding is not the same that she's going to charge now. So things are changing, and that's the same thing that happened. I remember my mom, God bless her, she really helped us with a lot of buying of things and buying of stuff, because I was in the UK when I was planning my wedding, for Nigeria. So she will go to the market today, and the next day she's telling me that, things have actually really increased. And that's the truth. You can buy something today, in 1 week, the price that you got for your drinks have increased. So planning on time will actually help you beat that inflation. Now that you have your budget, you have your sub budget, you have your wedding checklist, and you started planning your wedding very early, now it's time to reach out to your vendors. And if you're planning your wedding on a budget, I will advise you reach out to your vendors based on their services, not on their brands. Do I say that again? Based on their services, not based on their brands. Why am I saying this? Especially for Nigerian weddings, some people are charging you based on their brand. Example, a wedding dress that somebody made, like I told you, I don't know if I told you earlier, but my dress was custom made and it wasn't even up to 300,000 naira for the material and the service charge. I kid you not. But there's somebody else that would have made that dress for me and probably would charge me maybe 500,000 naira or 400,000 naira. I remember when I was going to do my wedding, there's this particular person that I had always admired her work because I saw someone's wedding she did for in 2020, and I said this person was going to sew my wedding dress. When I reached out to her, she told me that for a wedding dress, her starting price was 1.5 million naira, which my budget for a wedding was about 350,000 naira, and I wanted to rent. To be honest, I wanted to rent, but I just said, okay, just in case, maybe even if it was close to 350,000, maybe I could just add a little bit of money and then she'll make the dress for me. But oh boy, it was starting price. I think that was for a short dress, 1.5 million. And there's some people that the wedding dresses are 5 million naira. Why there's some people that can give you something similar but on a lower end or a lower budget, okay? Now there's some people that are charging you because they have a brand name. They have a brand name. So they're not just charging you for the services or the quality of material they're using. It's also because of the brand. Some people want to use these brands so that maybe they tag it on their wedding page or Bella Niger and be like, oh, this person styled my dress. But if you're on a budget, you may not afford to do that, okay? Like I said, don't plan your wedding to impress people. So choose your vendors based on their services, not on their brands. Choose the people that, okay, this person can make this dress well. This person can do this lighting well. This person can have a good decor. There's some people that will do your decor. They charge you based on the fact that they've been in industry for a while. They have a household name in the industry. But there's some people that will do that decor and they give you something really beautiful. Like I really loved my decor. But somebody else was telling me that for a decor of the room size that I'm going to have, it was like, I think 3 times or 2 times what my decor charged me. But my decor was really beautiful and I loved it. So at the end of the day, go for vendors based on their services, not according to their brands, especially if you're planning your wedding on a budget. You know, some people, because they style celebrities, because they do the makeup for celebrities, they're going to charge you based on that, based on their, not just based on their expertise, based on their experiences, based on the people they've done these services for. So, you know, when they just do something for people, their price will just go up. So as regards reaching out to vendors, I'll just give you a few advice. Instagram was my way to, I went to Instagram. It was so easy for me. It was easy to see other people's weddings and see, okay, this is the kind of wedding I like. Reach out to the vendors that they use. If it works out, fine. If it doesn't, I'd look for more vendors. You can even go to some wedding pages. Some people just tag their vendors. Just look for them. Look at their pages and see, is it something that resonates with you? Is it the kind of person you want? Is it the kind of person you think will be affordable? So Instagram was so easy for me. So it was Instagram that I found all my vendors. Yes, I did a lot of planning by myself. Because the event planner that I paid for was the kind of, I just wanted on the day coordination, even though she gave me some partial planning. So I did most of them. I did a lot of planning by myself, okay? So I reached out to vendors on Instagram. That was where I found vendors. Number 2 advice that I want to give is you can just have a message. I had a message that I just curated to send to every vendor, all right? So that I don't have to start typing over and over again. And you just keep it professional, keep it short, keep it simple, introduce yourself. Don't just say hello and wait for the person's response. I just put it out there and then get their response, okay? Just keep it a bit professional. And then also when the vendors give you their service charge, please, and maybe it's way beyond your budget or above your budget, I don't think it's nice to actually start insulting vendors and be saying, fear God, what is this? You're a thief, you're wicked. Maybe they give you a price for the dress and it's 10 million naira. Come on, just tell them. I also had a message for any vendor that I wasn't going to work with. Maybe their price was way above my budget. I just had a very polite message just sent to them and be like, okay, this is way above my budget, then move to the next person. I don't have to start insulting anybody. I don't think it's really nice. So yeah, please don't forget to compare prices, because that's why you need to start early so that you can be able to compare prices and choose vendors that resonate with you, people that you can work with, and you can check reviews, you can check their previous work and see, are you comfortable with this vendor and things like that. We don't want to hear stories like you got a photographer and then there are no pictures for your wedding. The next tip I want to give is to choose vendors locally. Remember I said that you should choose vendors based on their services, not their brands. Also choose vendors locally. This saved us tons and tons of money, because if you're going to have to get, especially if it's a Nigerian wedding, okay, and you're going to have to fly somebody in, you're going to have to transport somebody, you're going to pay for the logistics. So example, there's a makeup artist that I wanted to do my wedding, my makeup rather. So she gave me her quote, which was a bit above my budget. I was just willing to go on because I really wanted my makeup to be really beautiful. But then the logistics, she said she was only going to fly by air and get to me, and then you had to pay for the hotel. Now, when I calculated the logistics to and fro, I think it was up to 150,000 naira. This is aside the price of the makeup. At the end of the day, I just used a vendor, a makeup artist locally, and guys, she did so well on my makeup. I didn't have to pay for her accommodation. I didn't even have to pay for her transport because she was just around me, and it saved me so much money. There are a lot of examples like that. You know, maybe someone has to come and do a service for you, like hair. The person that did my hair was local, and I didn't have to pay for her accommodation or pay for her transport. So things like that. So if you can get vendors that offer services locally, if you're in a particular state or in a particular area, get vendors around that area, because if you have to start bringing in vendors from other places, you're going to have to pay for their transport, accommodation, logistics, and every other thing that can now add to your budget. So if you're planning your wedding on a budget, consider your local vendors. I'm sure if you search well enough, you'll find that some of them are actually really good. I assure you, you'll find out that some people around you that are really good in their craft. Okay, the next tip I want to share with you, this one is very dear to my heart. This one is very special. I think this is the tip that actually helped us save over 500,000 naira, and that is the tip I didn't even know until I tried it. Guess what? Negotiation. I didn't know you could negotiate with some vendors. Well, my husband, when a vendor told us a price, my husband said, "Oh, can you negotiate?" You know, I don't know how I felt, but really, negotiating actually helped us. Some people were willing to actually beat down price according to our budget, especially when it's very close to your budget. Please, when you're negotiating, negotiate with conscience. Don't go and be negotiating like a pricing crayfish in the market. Negotiate because somebody will tell you 500,000 naira, you'll not be negotiating 50,000. And please negotiate professionally and also reasonably. I mean, when I talked about the negotiation, let's say my budget for something is 300,000 naira and the person's own charge is 350. I could just be like, okay, can we do 300? So this negotiation will help you save tons and tons of money. I am telling you, it helped us so much, and we are so grateful to those vendors that were willing to work with our budget. You know, when we negotiated with them, yeah, there's some vendors that will insist on their price, and that's fine. You can just move over to the next person. But there are some that might just be willing to, you know, cut out a little amount so you guys can just reach an agreement. That's fine according to your budget. Now, aside the saving money that this will do for you, it would also help you redistribute into other areas. Example, I remember there's one vendor we reached out to. The person gave us a quote for, I think for 200,000 naira for a particular thing. And I think it was the first time we negotiated. And then the person said, okay, we negotiated, I think, on 150. You know, I think that was our budget for that one or something like that. We negotiated. And then the person was now like, okay, so we reached an agreement of 175,000 naira. And that was what we paid. We saved 15,000 naira. That's not all the gist. So this particular vendor, we're going to bring this particular vendor from another state, very close to Abia State anyways. Now, and we're going to pay for the hotel. Guess what we used to pay for the hotel? That 15,000 naira that he removed for us, that was what we used to pay for the hotel. So imagine if we had insisted on, maybe we didn't negotiate and we had just paid the 200,000 naira. That means we would have paid 215,000 naira, if that makes sense. So much math, but just follow along with me. So I'm not saying that you should, that's why I say, please, when you're negotiating, negotiate reasonably according to your budget. And please don't feel bad if they don't agree to your negotiation. You can move to another vendor, and if it is something you can still pay, fine, go on with it if you want to go on with the vendor. Okay, I hope this helps you because it really helps me a lot. And if you're enjoying this video so far, please just give it a thumbs up, like, and just share, because this can save a bride a lot of headache. This can save somebody a lot of money. So let's continue. So the next tip I have is that you should review your budget. Review it, re-review it, and re-review it again. I mean, as you make each payment, it'd be nice to check. I mean, my husband was very good with this. He created a group chat for just me and him. You know, you can do this with your Excel sheet or anything that you want to use that can help keep you in check. So he will just send, anytime we make a payment or procure a deal with a particular vendor, he will now send me, this is how much we've spent, this is how much we will have left. You know, so this will help you not to overshoot your budget, because there's a tendency to just keep paying and paying, and you don't even know how much you spent so far. far, so this will also help you now. Do you need to limit your budget? Do you now need to further limit your budget? It will just determine a lot of things. So keep reviewing it. Keep your eyes on your budget, not just your mind. You can just have your budget in mind. Oh, I know that this. No, it's not enough for it to just be in your mind. Your eyes should be on it too. Okay? So keep looking at it over and over again. Now, this particular tip I also think helped me with my planning and having my wedding on a budget is having a wedding that is strictly on invitation. Yes, I know. Calm down. Let me explain myself. Thank you. So where I'm coming from, especially the town where I did my wedding, this particular tip is not very welcomed. In fact, it's like, thank God our parents were really understanding, but there's some people that were like, it can't work. Some of these people are coming, they don't even know you. They just know there's a wedding here, there's going to be food, there's going to be this entertainment, and they just want to come. Now, this is going to even deprive your guests of having something good, and a lot of things like that. But that was not even the main reason. Yes, I wanted my guests to feel comfortable, to sit well, eat well. I felt it would be somehow that somebody would travel all the way or leave whatever they're going to do to come and celebrate me, and they're standing. They don't even have food to eat. They don't get anything. So I really wanted my guests to feel comfortable, and I'm glad they did. I got very good feedback. My parents were really happy. But what I'm trying to say with this Ivy wedding is that it helped us plan for a specific number of people, if that makes sense. So example, we told our parents that our guest list, we are just expecting 300 guests. Yes, for people it can be more, but this is what we're going to do according to our budget, so that we know that, because when you're paying the food vendor, example, sometimes for the food vendor we hired, we're going to pay her per guest. So the amount she gave us was per one person. So if they're telling you, example, it is 1,000 naira per person, okay, now, and you have 300 guests, so you know that this is the amount you're going to allocate for food. So having our wedding strictly by Ivy actually helped us portion a lot of things. It will determine the size of the hall that we use, and some of these halls, they charge you based on the space aside the location. Now, it will also determine the rentals, like is the hall going to come with chairs? Am I going to have to rent chairs? In our case, we rented chairs because there was a particular kind of chair we wanted. All those things, and all those things will ultimately help me plan better with my budget and also plan according to my budget. So having my wedding strictly by Ivy just made me realize that this is the kind of hall I'm going to have. This is just the kind of the guest list. This is what we're going to have, the amount of food, the amount of drinks that we're going to buy. So these actually helped us plan our wedding proper, and it turned out really good. People are just used to going to people's weddings. They just invite you, come. Planning our wedding by Ivy actually just helped us with our expenses, to be honest. And every guest that came there, they were so grateful. After the wedding, they were even calling our parents. They were so happy, and I was also very happy. The next tip that helped me is DIY plus repurpose. Things that you can DIY, please do that. Example, some people will DIY their bouquet, and to save them some money. Anything that you know that you can DIY, anything that you can, repurpose, like it can help you. Like for me, the shoe that I use for my pre-wedding shoot is the same shoe that I use for my wedding. Now imagine if I had to buy two shoes. This is for someone that's planning their wedding on a budget, okay? Feel free to buy as many shoes as you want if you can afford it, But for me, the shoe that I used for my wedding was the same shoe that I used for my photo shoot, my pre-wedding photo shoot, and it served me well. Did you know? If I didn't tell you, would you have known? Okay, fine. Even if you knew then, what would it change? It wouldn't change how beautiful my wedding looked. I'm just saying sometimes you don't need to start thinking about what will people say, what will people think. Some of them might not even notice it, really. And even if they do, okay, fine. Did they buy shoe for me? No. So some of these things, if we can't repurpose, I saw a lady share that the earrings that she used for her wedding belonged to her mother. She didn't have to buy new earrings. Yes, they were, I think, pearls or diamonds, but at least she didn't have to buy them. That saved her some money. So if you can use anything, reuse anything that you know that will be very useful for your wedding, please do so. If you can DIY some things, please do so. In terms of repurposing, we repurpose our wedding Ivy as our access card. I think that was really smart. Wedding invitation card is what you use to invite people to your wedding, especially our parents. Most of my husband's guests and my guests, we just sent them an e-copy because the generation we are in. But my parents would preferred a hard copy of the Ivy, which is fine, and I totally understand that. So for the Ivy, we made it small enough to double as an Ivy access card, and also large enough to be a wedding invitation card, if that makes sense. Because if you're planning your wedding strictly by Ivy, there just has to be a way. For us, it was just going to, maybe they're in very modernized places, maybe there are other ways they could use to check these people, but for us, we're going to have to use a card, so that if you come with that card, card, we'll know that you were invited, and then you go in. So there are some places where they have wedding invitation cards, and then they also have small access cards, which is fine. But for us, we use our wedding invitation cards as the access cards. So when you're coming, just come with the invites that you were given. We just made it really portable, really beautiful, really small enough to be a wedding access card, and also large enough to be an invitation card. So we didn't have to print twice. We didn't have to print, because the money we're getting for printing access cards was different from the money we're getting from printing wedding invitation card. So we just had to just use everything together, and that saved us money as well. So if you can repurpose anything, if you can DIY anything, like even our printables, those things that you're going to print, especially take note of your printables. Those printables can certainly take a lot of money. So if you can print something like table menu, rather than having everybody with their own menu, can you just print one table menu for a table? Everybody will look at it and choose because after the menu is going to be discarded, things like that. So think about the things you can repurpose, think about the things you can DIY, and those things will save you some money. No matter how small it is, it will save you some money. Now that I've given you those smart tips, can I give you some advice? Okay, please don't plan your wedding to impress anybody, because you can't please everybody. Do you know that no matter the amount of money you spend in your wedding, some people might still not be impressed, some people might still not be pleased, some people will still forget it. Plan your wedding, do you, just be happy. Plan your wedding because you want to be happy, not because you want to maintain a reputation or build a reputation, or because you want it to be carried by some blogs or brands, or anywhere appear in public. Just plan it because for the memories. I mean, I look back at my wedding and I love it. You can catch up on my wedding video because I have it somewhere on my channel as well, so that you can know what I'm talking about. Also, regardless of what your budget is for your wedding this season, I want you to know that your best financial days are ahead. Yes, your best financial days are ahead. This is the least you will ever be, especially as you keep doing those things that will help you even gain more money. Don't be discouraged about your budget. Don't be discouraged about whatever you have. Just have it at the back of your mind that your best financial days are ahead. I mean, there's this story that Real Warrior Pikin told about her wedding. I don't know if you've seen her story, how they started the wedding they did 10 years before and the wedding they did 10 years after. So you never can tell. So don't be discouraged. Do your wedding, be happy, give thanks to God that you're even getting married and that you even have something that you can even use for your wedding. At least you have some money. Give glory to God and trust God. Your best days are still ahead. If you have seen this video so far to this point, thank you so much. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if it was really good, if you really enjoyed it. And it will also help somebody, because this can just save somebody a lot of financial stress. Somebody might just make a bad financial decision, but this video can just save them. So please share it to somebody that you know that it will be helpful to. I really hope this helps you. If there is any smart money saving tips that you can give to anybody, please put it in the comment section so that we can all learn together. And don't forget to subscribe as well. You can also catch up on my weddings here, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.